After marriage, my wife developed a passion for cycling. That night when she returned home, her legs were trembling and her face flushed red. Worried she might be overexerting herself, I suggested she take a break. She snapped at me instantly. I'd rather get a new husband than stop cycling. I couldn't comprehend what made cycling so addictive until I later joined the cycling community myself. Since joining, my wife started coming home increasingly late. Tonight was particularly bad. I didn't hear the door open until nearly midnight. She staggered in, leaning against the wall, legs shaking violently, her face glowing with post-exercise flush. My frown deepened instantly. I'd always heard rumors about the cycling community's wild side. Members organized various activities like group dinners and tandem rides that sounded innocent enough. But these dinners often ran late. Participants would then randomly assign shared hotel rooms through draws, always pairing men and women together. When I mentioned this to my wife, she laughed it off as internet nonsense. She never did stay out overnight before, but I'd personally witnessed those so-called tandem rides. Last week during our company dinner, Mike from marketing got drunk and showed me leaked private videos from cycling groups. The footage showed couples sharing regular single-seat bicycles, the man pedaling while the woman sat atop him. The compromising positions often led to unexpected outcomes. As Mike smirked, "Everyone knows what these rides really are." He winked. "They start with cycling. But who knows what kind of riding happens in secluded areas?" I dismissed it as locker room talk then. But now my chest tightened with dread, because I clearly saw the torn hole in her cycling leggings beneath that short skirt. "Honey, I'm exhausted." Her breath came in gasps, legs visibly trembling. When I turned on the light and approached, an unfamiliar scent hit me. Why do these rides keep getting later? I struggled to keep my voice steady. She collapsed onto the couch, chest heaving. The route was longer today, went to the lakeside trail. So intense. My fists clenched. Intense. From cycling, or? I couldn't finish the thought, feeling invisible horns growing on my head. As she lay sprawled on the couch, her hiked-up skirt revealed the torn innerwear more clearly. The cycling community's reputation flashed through my mind. Though the physical exertion was undeniable, that ragged hole told another story, one no amount of pedaling could explain. The friction couldn't possibly be intense enough to wear through thermal leggings. I stared fixedly at that area. Mike's words flashed through my mind. When riding in remote areas, who knows what kind of bike you're actually mounting? To tear through that particular spot, what else could cause such damage? Though suspicion already gnawed at me, I refused to believe it. Emily was the girl I'd pursued relentlessly for 10 whole years. We'd only gotten married last week. My hands trembled as I recalled our decade-long dance, from high school hallways to office buildings, from awkward teenage confessions to mature courtship. She'd always kept me at arm's length until finally agreeing to date last year. That wedding night, when she'd sipped champagne and yielded to me, felt like hard-won victory. Yet now this. "Honey, I'm going to shower first." I nodded numbly. Within minutes, retching sounds erupted from the bathroom, moving instinctively toward the noise. I found her hunched over the sink, clutching a pregnancy test. She turned with strange brightness in her eyes. "Darling, I'm pregnant." The air crystallized. My vision tunneled onto 2 crimson lines. Blood roared in my ears. Still, I embraced her with exaggerated enthusiasm, my voice climbing octaves. "This is wonderful. I'll call our families immediately." The falseness of my own tone made me cringe. Her cheeks flushed pink as protective hands cradled her flat abdomen. The gesture stabbed through me. "I'll make the calls from the balcony." I fled before my crumbling mask exposed me. Alone behind glass doors, my smile evaporated. Instead of dialing my parents, my bloodshot eyes glared at the screen as I called her family. 10 years of chaste courtship. One carefully protected wedding night. The math screamed impossibility. All those years of patient waiting, believing my devotion would eventually be rewarded. Now reality's cruel joke left me choking on bitterness. The bathroom door creaked open, her happy humming twisting the knife deeper. What's even more absurd was how calmly she told me she was pregnant. How could she be so sure I wouldn't suspect anything? Oh, right. After all, I was the doormat who'd chased after her for 10 whole years. I gripped my phone, staring at her coldly. She froze before following my gaze downward. Only then did she notice the hole in her leggings. I saw the flicker of panic in her eyes as her fingers instinctively tugged at her skirt, desperately trying to cover that glaring imperfection. The call connected. I cheerfully announced the good news to her parents, inviting them over for a celebration dinner and promising a special surprise. Relief washed over her face when she saw my smile. She thought I hadn't noticed. As I hung up, she hurried toward the bedroom. In her haste, she left her clutch on the sofa. My heart nearly stopped when I unzipped the bag. Resting atop the jumbled contents was a square wrapper from a condom brand I'd never bought. I laughed bitterly, clutching the evidence as I marched to the bedroom. That night, she was unusually eager. I matched her intensity without mercy, half expecting anger. Instead, she reveled in it. The realization kept me awake until dawn. Bloodshot eyes and a bitten tongue couldn't calm the storm in my chest. I'd given her everything since graduation, my paychecks, luxury comforts, my entire goddamn life. She's my wife, I told myself. Who else should spoil her? Now I wished I'd forced her to get some pointless job. All those business trips, those late nights at the office, what had she really been doing? The image of strangers in our bed, their bodies crushing hers, burned behind my eyelids. My chair screeched across the floor as I stood. A coworker jumped. What's wrong? Taking leave. I snapped, grabbing my coat. The taxi ride home felt endless. Every red light stretching the torture. I nearly broke the door handle rushing inside, already smelling phantom cologne on our sheets. When the car stopped at the residential complex gate, I nearly sprinted into the elevator. As the doors opened, my face darkened instantly. A man's voice drifted through the apartment door, low, muffled, tinged with laughter. Blood rushed to my temples as I threw the door open. The voice grew clearer. Slow down, yes. Right there. My jaw clenched as I stormed toward the sound, only to find a stranger on a ladder fixing the air conditioner. He glanced down indifferently before resuming his work. Heat crept up my neck. Emily turned to look at me, her tone breezy as if oblivious to my tension. Honey? Why are you home? My throat constricted. Forgot some files. I finally croaked, brushing past her toward the study. I pretended to search for documents, hyper-aware of Emily's laughter with the repairman through the thin walls. Something felt wrong, terribly wrong, yet I had no proof. For days afterward, I'd leave work early, not heading home, but haunting the coffee shop across the street. Her routine never faltered: morning shopping sprees, afternoon yoga classes, evening cycling at precisely 6 p.m. Maybe I was paranoid. The woman I'd known for 10 years was practically prudish. How could our marriage crumble over rumors and baseless suspicions? The bitter laugh died in my throat when my phone buzzed. Mike texted, "Special event on Lakeside Greenway Saturday night. Like those videos I showed you. Interested?" My knuckles whitened around the device. He didn't message again, knowing workaholic me would never indulge in such nonsense. Yet come Saturday twilight, I lurked near the Greenway. Emily appeared right on schedule, but veered onto a secluded path instead of her usual route. My breath hitched as I followed. The scene around the bend froze my blood. Dozens of couples shared bicycles, women straddling men's laps, laughter hanging thick in the air. My wife Emily was climbing onto a man's bike when he turned his face. Recognition punched through me like a physical blow. It turned out to be Mike from marketing. No wonder he knew so much. Suppressing my rage, I pulled out my phone to record. That night, I witnessed everything and documented everything, but I kept silent. I wanted to see what other tricks she had in the cycling community. At my emotional lowest point, my career soared. The innovative program I developed doubled the company's market value, propelling us to industry prominence. The board immediately announced my appointment as CEO. Everyone applauded except Mike, sitting pale and sweaty in the corner. He'd always known who my wife was. Now I realized his earlier casual mention of their tandem cycling had been deliberate provocation. Too bad he never expected I'd become CEO. Champagne flute in hand, I approached him with a smile. He scrambled to his feet, nearly spilling his drink, clapping his shoulder with mock concern. I asked Mike, "You look terrible. Overworked lately?" His forced smile wavered. "Jay just didn't sleep well." I nodded meaningfully. "Overexertion takes its toll. Take care of yourself." His pupils dilated as sweat dripped faster. I walked away without another word, my smile freezing into ice. He wanted to play with my wife? Fine. I'd let them play until it killed them. Returning home, Emily had already heard about my promotion. "Honey, you're amazing." She threw herself at me. Her parents arrived minutes later, fawning over their brilliant son-in-law. Feigning affection, I announced while holding her waist, "Emily, I'm buying us a luxury penthouse." Her eyes lit up as her parents rubbed their hands greedily. "Oh, we couldn't possibly. We're family." I interrupted. Her mother simpered. Our Emily married so well. Watching their avaricious faces, I smiled coldly. Their excitement would make the coming drama sweeter. That afternoon, we toured properties. I selected a $5 million penthouse in the best neighborhood, producing $100,000 savings. I suggested, "You contribute another $100,000. When my project bonus clears next week, I'll add $3 million for full payment under Emily's name." Her parents exchanged ecstatic glances. "But can you manage $100,000? Her father puffed out his chest. "We'll sell our house." Emily tearfully vowed, "I'll give you so many babies." I stroked her hair, stomach churning. Babies? They'd be lucky to survive what's coming. Did they really take me for a sucker? That very night, the Johnsons rushed home to gather funds. In just 3 days, they sold their old house and drained their savings to scrape together $1,360,000. Meanwhile, my 3 million yuan project funds arrived on schedule, without any complications. We paid in full, and the paperwork was processed swiftly. My wife, Emily, clutched the property deed, her face flushed with excitement. "Honey, I love you so much. I adore you." Slap. The moment the final document was signed, I mustered all my strength and struck her across the face. Bliss. The slap filled me with visceral satisfaction. Emily staggered back in shock. She clutched her cheek, stumbling 2 steps backward. Her eyes brimmed with confusion and disbelief. The Johnsons stood frozen beside us. They couldn't comprehend why I'd suddenly become violent. Rubbing my reddened palm, I couldn't suppress the grin spreading across my face. This was the most gratifying day I'd had in nearly a decade. But then twisted fury contorted Emily's features. "John, have you lost your mind?" The burning pain drove her into frenzy. She lunged at me with a shriek, nails aimed at my eyes. I caught her wrist and backhanded her again. My hand throbbed. Pure ecstasy. This time I'd used full force. She collapsed to the floor, twin red handprints blooming on her cheeks. "Emily." "Mrs." Johnson's screech shattered the air. She hurried to help Emily up before glaring daggers at me. Her gaze could have flayed skin. "Mr." Johnson's wrinkled face twitched violently as he jabbed a finger at me. "John, what's your game? Give us a proper explanation today, or Emily divorces you tomorrow." The old couple finally shed their benevolent facade. I flexed my tingling palm leisurely before beaming at them. That's more like it. This is the real Mr. and Mrs. Johnson I know. Your groveling kindness these past few days was nauseating. Mrs. Johnson's face twisted grotesquely. She charged at me like a feral animal. I kicked out without restraint. She crumpled to the floor like a rag doll, her jade bracelet snapping in two. Mr. Johnson halted mid-lunge at the sight. His impotent rage amused me deeply. Sales office staff watched horrified, but none dared intervene. Anyone who could drop $5 million on property wasn't to be trifled with. By then, Emily had regained her bearings. She lifted her head, eyes bloodshot, her piercing scream nearly rupturing my eardrums. John, get down on your knees and apologize right now. Otherwise, we're getting divorced immediately. Divorce. It has to happen. And I'll make sure you leave with nothing. Not a single penny. I yanked off my tie, shedding my gentlemanly demeanor for the first time. Emily's face turned ashen. She glared at me, shouting, John, have you lost your damn mind? I chuckled. Lost my mind. Should I remind you what happened during your little joyride on that cheap motorcycle? Emily's complexion drained. Her eyes darted nervously. She opened her mouth to protest. But seeing my ironclad confidence, the words died in her throat. Even Mr. and Mrs. Johnson began shifting uncomfortably. Their reactions suddenly made everything laughable. So they'd all known. I'd been the fool all along. Slouching in a chair with crossed legs, I coldly addressed them. Emily, you've got two choices. Either sign the house over to me unconditionally and walk away with your dignity intact, or we go straight to divorce court. Emily looked like I'd slapped her. Her features twisted grotesquely. Walk away with nothing? In your dreams. The house is mine. The money's mine. Listen here, John, if you don't get on your knees and beg forgiveness right now, there's no coming back from this. She stormed out, her parents shooting venomous glares before trailing after her. I watched their retreating figures, my smile widening. Did she really think this was negotiable? Letting her keep dignity was my last act of mercy. Now she's torn up that final courtesy herself. The next morning at the office, Mike's workstation stood empty. A colleague mentioned he'd submitted his resignation at dawn. No handover. Just frantic departure. I traced my fingers across his abandoned desk. Grinned, stretching wider. Ran fast. Pity you can't hide forever. That afternoon at the cafe, Sophia arrived in professional attire. Chestnut waves framing an intelligent face that grew more compelling the longer you looked. Before she fully settled, I slid across the folder containing surveillance footage and time-stamped photos of Emily's infidelity. The attorney's brows furrowed as she reviewed the evidence. Mr. Smith, she finally said, this proves misconduct. But forcing complete forfeiture? That's an uphill battle. I meant to do that. I said, just make sure the lawsuit is ready. She nodded. As she turned to leave, her heel caught on the carpet. She stumbled forward, but I caught her around the waist. For a heartbeat, we stood close enough to share breath. The tips of her ears flushed pink. I released her with exaggerated chivalry. You all right? Emily ducked her head, murmuring thanks. Before leaving, I had Sophia draft another divorce agreement, this one stipulating the wife would forfeit all marital assets. Outside the cafe window, Mike pressed his phone against the glass, trembling with excitement. He scurried away after snapping photos, muttering about smoking gun evidence and that CEO position being up for grabs. Sophia delivered the documents that afternoon. I was preparing to confront Emily after work when my office door crashed open. Emily stormed in, Mike trailing behind like a giddy puppy. John, you cheating bastard. She hurled photos across my desk. The shots showed strategic angles of me steadying Sophia, could have been mistaken for an embrace. Mike's grin stretched ear to ear. Looks like we'll need new leadership. John, my knuckles itched. Emily jabbed a manicured finger at my face. Get on your knees and beg forgiveness, or I'll ruin you. Kiss my ass. The slap sent her sprawling, lipstick smearing the floor like blood. Mike barely flinched before my knee met his gut. He curled fetal as my fists painted his face purple. Enjoy your photography career? I ground my heel into his phone hand. Let's make sure you never hold a camera again. Colleagues finally intervened. Emily scrambled up, shrieking about domestic violence and infidelity to gathering crowds. The photos lay trampled underfoot, but the whispers spreading through the office needed no visual aids. The gazes directed at me grew increasingly peculiar. I let out a bitter laugh. My eyes swept across Emily's contorted features. You've overstepped your bounds. Before the words fully left my mouth, my fist collided with Emily's nasal bridge in a vicious uppercut. This wasn't an open-handed slap, but a bone-crunching punch. The sickening crunch of cartilage yielding to knuckles mingled with her shrill scream. Emily staggered backward, crimson streams erupting from her now visibly crooked nose. She crumpled to the floor, clutching her face as blood and tears created grotesque patterns across her cheeks. Despite the pain, obscenities continued bubbling from her trembling lips. When Mike moved to assist her, my polished Oxford shoe met his ribs, sending him sprawling. The heel ground into his palm with deliberate cruelty. Colleagues' widened eyes reflected mounting horror at the unfolding violence. The staccato click of designer heels announced Sophia's arrival. The corporate lawyer slammed her leather portfolio against the conference table. At my subtle nod, she activated the projector with military precision. High-definition footage flooded the screen, security camera footage of Emily and Mike's tandem cycling escapades along the lakeside trail. Hotel receipts scrolled by, followed by damning chat logs from their cycling group. Event reminder: male, female room assignments determined by random lottery. These so-called cycling retreats, Sophia's voice cut through the tension like shattering crystal, were fronts for organized debauchery. Mr. Brown here participated in 17 such events, each more depraved than the last. The office erupted in chaos. Smartphones emerged to document the scandal. Emily lunged at the projection screen, screaming about deep fakes, while Mike trembled like a cornered rodent. Neither anticipated I'd sacrifice social standing to expose their filth. When collective judgment finally broke Emily, she shrieked, "John, you hypocrite! You cheated too." Every head swiveled toward me. Sophia moved before I could react. Her palm connected with Emily's cheek in a crack that silenced the room. "You dare?" Emily rasped, cradling her face. Sophia's glacial stare never wavered. The lawyer's manicured finger traced the fresh scratch on her own neck, a crimson welt from earlier that morning's confrontation. The sound of the input rang sharp and clear. No evidence means no slander. With that, Sophia pulled out her phone and projected surveillance footage onto the office wall. The cafe video showed Sophia's heels slipping, her body lurching forward as I caught her waist, a brief, professional contact devoid of impropriety. The crowd erupted in jeers, fabricated accusations. Someone shouted, guilty conscience projecting filth onto others. Emily's face drained of color, lips trembling soundlessly. Mike shrunk into the corner like a cornered rodent. I sneered, slapping divorce papers before her. "Sign. Leave with nothing. I'll let you keep that last shred of dignity." Emily scanned the document before tearing it violently. "Dream on. 50-50 split or no divorce." Observing her hysterics, I smiled coldly. "Your choice." Turning to my desk, I buzzed security. "Escort them out." As guards dragged the struggling Emily away, Mike stumbled after her, eyes glued to the floor. Colleagues' whispers cut through the hallway. "Disgusting exhibition, shameless." Sophia's appraising gaze lingered. "You noticed Mike filming at the cafe that day," she stated. fingertips drumming mahogany. Leaning back, I nodded. Some dramas need full performances. The surveillance backup I'd instructed Sophia to obtain had proven timely. Pushing legal documents across the desk. She raised an eyebrow. Litigation route. Last resort. I countered, whispering alternative instructions. Sophia's laugh carried newfound respect. Ruthless efficiency. Falling for me. I drawled, appreciating competence. She corrected, though her parting glance held intrigue. Alone, I uploaded meticulously gathered evidence. Private investigators hired upon discovering Emily's affair had uncovered far more than anticipated. The real performance was only beginning. Compared to Emily, Mike played dirtier in the cycling scene. Tandem rides, blindfolded parties, heart-stopping adventures, things I'd never dared imagine before. What's more unbelievable is that everyone participated willingly, regardless of gender. No coercion whatsoever. I posted a small portion online. An hour later, the post went viral. Mike's name skyrocketed to trending topics. By that afternoon, he'd been blacklisted industry-wide. Late at night, my phone vibrated abruptly. Mike sent curses from a new number. John, you ruthless bastard. Just wait, I'll fucking end you. I immediately screenshotted it and forwarded it to Sophia. How many years for criminal threats? The hotel suite air grew suffocatingly tense. Emily's father suddenly kicked Mike in the chest, sending him sprawling across the floor. Who the hell do you think you are? He roared, jabbing his finger at Mike's face. Dragging my daughter into your disgusting schemes. Now everything's ruined. Mike clutched his chest, features twisting with rage. As he raised his fist to strike back, Emily grabbed his arm. Her father's face purpled with fresh anger. Look at him, he shouted at Emily, veins bulging. Have you lost your mind? Choosing this trash over a man like John who pursued you for 10 years? Emily bit her lip. Dad, shut up. Go fix your appearance and apologize to John properly. And you, he wheeled on Mike. You piece of, but he should be apologizing to me. Emily protested stubbornly. The slap echoed through the room. Emily, her father bellowed, hand still raised. This isn't about pride anymore. Our family's survival is at stake. Both Emily and Mike froze, faces draining of color. Mr. Johnson inhaled sharply, struggling for composure. John isn't just some rising CEO now. You think he merely wants divorce papers? He wants us destroyed. Mrs. Johnson trembled, voice quivering. Then what do? You two will publicly beg his forgiveness. Mr. Johnson's glare swept over them. Not privately. The bid conference the day after tomorrow. He'll definitely attend. Kneel before everyone and plead. Emily shuddered, tears splattering the marble floor. Her father paid no heed, muttering feverishly, John values reputation. 10 years of chasing you. Public humiliation will soften him. Yes, it must. Collapsing on the floor, Emily nodded through gritted teeth, eyes burning with resentment. At the bid conference, laughter and flattery surrounded me. Suddenly, commotion erupted. Emily and Mike stumbled through the crowd, dropping to their knees before me under hundreds of stares. John, please. Emily's tear-choked voice cracked. Have mercy. Gasps rippled through the hall. I gazed down at their trembling forms, smile curling slowly. The climax of this drama finally arrived. I didn't look at Emily but stared straight at Mike. Want me to spare you? Mike jerked his head up, desperate hope flashing in his eyes. Strip naked and crawl 3 laps around the hall. Then I might consider forgiveness. Dead silence fell. Mike turned pale, lips trembling soundlessly. Emily suddenly grabbed his arm, shrilly urging, do it. Now. He stared at her in disbelief. But Emily's eyes only reflected frantic desperation. Crawl. You want to get us killed? Under the crowd's gaze, Mike tremblingly unbuttoned his shirt. Piece by piece, His clothes fell. Finally, amid mocking laughter and camera flashes, he crawled on all fours with his head bowed in humiliation. After 3 excruciating laps, he collapsed like a dying dog. "Will you spare us now?" Clapping slowly, I approached him with predatory amusement. "Spare you? Of course not." His bloodshot eyes snapped up. Emily screamed, lunging at me. "John, you tricked us?" I seized her jaw. Voice icy. I said I'd consider it. "Now I've decided, no forgiveness." Clear enough? Her face drained of color. "John, must you be so cruel?" "Cruel?" My laughter turned harsh. 10 years. You lived off my money. Never gave me so much as a weed. Then cheated on me. Now you want mercy?" Gritting her teeth, she hissed, "I know you value your reputation." "John, you." My backhand sent her staggering. "Reputation? The day I exposed your filth publicly, I stopped caring about face." The more she spoke, the more my rage burned. No more restraint. I grabbed her collar and unleashed a flurry of punches until she lay bruised and bloodied on the floor. Just as my fists rose again, the doors burst open. Enough. Every head turned toward the commanding figure in tailored suit. Kevin, Emily's first love. The wealthy heir who'd left for overseas years ago. Had he stayed, Emily would have never married me. My lips curled. What new act was this? White Knight rescuing the damsel. Before I could speak, Emily's eyes blazed with manic hope. She staggered forward. "Kevin, save me. John has gone mad." He. Bang. Kevin frowned and sidestepped, kicking her to the ground. He disdainfully scraped his leather shoe against the floor before turning to extend his hand toward me with a cordial smile. "John, it's an honor." I raised an eyebrow as I shook his hand, unsure of his motives. He leaned in, lowering his voice. "Let it go? John, this isn't worth prison time. If you're still pissed, I'll drag this trash to some backwoods pig farm, dose the swine with aphrodisiacs, and let nature take its course." My eyes widened before I grinned and gave him a thumbs up. "Damn, Kevin, you're ice cold." Emily lay crumpled on the floor, staring at Kevin in disbelief. She clawed at his pant leg, voice trembling. "Kevin, you swore you loved me." He kicked her away, looking down with utter contempt. A community bicycle from the hookup scene dares ask about love? I nearly choked on suppressed laughter. His first love was far souther than I'd imagined. Emily froze, lips quivering soundlessly. I beckoned security. "Escort these enthusiastic cyclists out." As guards dragged them away, both wore identical masks of despair. That afternoon, Kevin and I sealed our partnership. His connections paired with my tech expertise would double the company's valuation. Later, attorney Sophia confronted Emily with compromising videos and photos leaked from hookup forums, forcing her to sign a post-nup surrendering all assets. Predictably, Emily complied, even forfeiting the apartment bought with her parents' life savings. The Johnson family now huddled under bridges like stray dogs. Their attempts to confront me ended with security shooing them away like common vagrants. Mike fared worse. Viral cycling community footage made him unemployable. Even food delivery apps blacklisted him. One night in a flop house, Mike shattered a glass. "If they want us dead, we'll take that bastard down with us." At dawn, I approached Sophia's law firm with roses. After 3 months of courtship post-divorce, she'd finally agreed to try dating. Her ears flushed pink as she accepted the bouquet. I stole a kiss on her forehead. I didn't notice the shadowed figure behind the dumpster. Emily's nails were digging into the peeling wall. Mike gripped her trembling shoulders. "Relax. I'll make him wish he were dead." Midnight. The phone's shrill ring shattered the silence. Mike's raspy threat crawled through the receiver. "If you want your lawyer breathing, come to the abandoned chemical plant alone." This time, panic truly set in. The warehouse door creaked open to reveal Sophia gagged with duct tape. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson blocking the exit with steel pipes. Mike pressed his blade against Sophia's throat. Beg me, John, on your knees. I raised my hand slowly, voice eerily calm. Fine. Let her go. Do whatever you want with me. Think I'm stupid? Mike's blade bit into Sophia's neck, drawing blood. Stab yourself. Now. Studying his deranged eyes. I suddenly laughed. Gladly. He tossed another dagger. Madness danced in his stare. I grabbed the blade and rammed it into my abdomen. As I crumpled, everyone except Sophia howled with laughter. That's when I struck. Clutching my wound, I lunged at Mike and buried the dagger in his thigh. Chaos erupted. Grabbing Sophia, we fled through the screaming darkness. Police sirens wailed as my vision faded. Waking days later, I learned Emily and the other 3 received 7 years for attempted murder. I carved that number into my soul. A year later, Sophia became my wife. I left corporate life to build my own empire. Our first child arrived the following year. 3 years after that, my company dominated the industry. The 7th year, Emily's crew emerged from prison. Right on schedule. The article I'd scheduled 7 years earlier went viral. Every damning detail of their cycling community, crimes spreading like wildfire across the internet. The digital wildfire reignited, burning their lives to ash once more.